The talking, nagging, lucha watching, puro viewing, indie supporting, drinking, cursing, son of a gun of a podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty and co-host Ike Isaacs as they talk wrestling and interview those within the business, bringing positivity back to pro wrestling. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
Hey, welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. This is your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining us, however you do, whether it be on iTunes, SoundCloud, or YouTube. And however you do, please subscribe, rate, review, and share. I do thank you for joining us. I am about 4 days removed from neck surgery, and I wanted to say thank you, everybody that's wished me well and everything online. The response has been phenomenal, and I appreciate every bit of it. I am healing well, just regaining my strength and energy and getting over some of the surgery pain. But I do appreciate everybody reaching out. And we have a great episode for you here today. There are lots of folks out there in all the different territories and areas of the country who are unheralded, who are underappreciated in the things that they do and that they have achieved. And today we have a guy that fits that bill. He hails from Indiana. We're talking about Greg Lake. We got a great interview with him today. One of the most underappreciated guys in wrestling in the Midwest, or perhaps in all the country. He's got some great stories and lots of things we didn't even get to. So it is a great interview. Again, as I'm recovering here, so kind of the energy level's a little low here at the beginning. I apologize for that. We're not going to be long. We're going to kick it over. We're going to take a break. When we come back, my co-host Ike Isaacs has that interview with Greg Lake, so stick around.
Visit LuchaMaskUSA.com for official high-quality lucha masks and merchandise, straight from the luchadors themselves. They have a huge and always growing inventory, so check back often. That's LuchaMaskUSA.com.
And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. I'm your co-host Ike Isaacs, and today I have another legend of Indian wrestling, Greg Lake.
Oh, doing pretty good. In case you're wondering what I look like, just think of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, only a short, middle-aged, bald guy with glasses. And then other than that, Dwayne and I are just alike. Well, we're both males anyway. There's nothing else. Okay, that was kind of weird. But
that's good, though. So, all right, well, we're just going to hit the ground running with this one. So, first thing we always ask people is, where do you hail from? Where are you from?
Originally I'm from Plymouth, Indiana, but I lived in Lafayette, Indiana most of my life when I wasn't traveling different places.
Okay.
I lived in Seattle quite a big chunk of my life too. We'll get to that later though. But mostly Lafayette, Indiana, and I still live in Lafayette, Indiana. Okay. So still referee, and I don't wrestle anymore, but I wrestled till I was 50, and I'm now 63. So I still, as far as what I'm doing right now, as far as wrestling, I still referee quite a bit. Just refereed in Las Vegas for the Cauliflower Alley Club last week.
That's awesome.
And I do a commissioner thing where I'm for American. It's All American Championship Wrestling in Kokomo. I'm like their commissioner. So they work me in with angles and stuff. But anyway, that's what I'm doing currently now, still repping and doing the commissioner gig, and enjoying it. I'm 63 years old, still in it. That's too stupid to get out, I guess, of the business. No. Okay, go ahead.
No, okay. No, it's all good. I love hearing little snippets about you. That's kind of what we're here for, just to learn about you and just, get to know more about who Greg Lake is. But before we get kind of into the wrestling aspect of things,
sure.
Something else people like to know about the legends is, when you were a kid, did you play any sports? Because like you said, you grew up in Columbus, and then you moved, of course. But did you have any childhood sports that you played that kind of got you into the whole wrestling thing?
Well, yeah, I actually was an amateur wrestler for 2.5 years. I say 2.5 because of the about halfway through the third year in wrestling when I was a senior in high school. I walked in and the coach said something to the effect of, "What are you doing here, Pace?" My real name's Greg Pace. And I don't know, he just kind of gave me a rough time about coming in, so I just turned around and walked out. Anyway, I did amateur wrestling for about 2.5 years. My official record, no, I'm no Brock Lesnar or anybody like that, but I'm not Brock Lesnar, but my amateur record is 0-1. The only one I was really in, only match I was really in, I jobbed out to this one guy, so to speak. So yeah, 0-1 is my official amateur record. But I did play some football in high school. I ran track. When I was a little kid, I used to actually hate pro wrestling. My brother turned it on one time. I think I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I wanted him to turn it off. I didn't. But then about a year later, he was watching it. My older brother was, and all of a sudden I really got intrigued with it and fascinated with it. And I was years old, and basically the rest is history. I used to pretend I'd be up in my room and I'd pretend Sheik, whom I wrestled in real life, up in my room, pretending, like I said, bodies for the ring, crazy stuff like that. So we actually also, too, when I was in high school, I built a makeshift ring, backyard. We did all-star wrestling, so we had a kind of a mock-up. And I was the heel, and I ended up dropping to this one guy called Pretty Boy Floyd, in the match. Got that somewhere on Super 8, Super film. I'll try to dig it out on. But, yeah, and then to flash forward a couple months later, I had actually an article about Klein's Gym in Detroit, Michigan, and Wrestling Review. And I wish I would have kept that magazine. But anyway, I went up to Klein's Gym, and Lou Klein looked at me and said, well, you're a little bit small, but if you want to, come work in here, that would be fine. Or try to train, and that'd be fine. So I went back up to June 18th, 1972, and started with Lou Klein.
Oh, very nice. So, speaking of training, actually, so that was, you said 1970?
72.
Okay, so that's when you...
1972.
So that's when you probably started training, and you said he trained you. So, so definitely, so you just kind of walked in there, because obviously nowadays you can, email a school and just be like, hey, I want to train. So it was probably a lot different back then. You had to kind of, know some people and meet some people before you could get in there, probably.
Actually, no. I walked into Klein's Gym. We went in. My dad took me up in early June, like around June 6th, right after I graduated from high school. And Lou looked me over, and I paid my $300. It was $300 to train. And he said, "Well," he says, "Yeah, I'll train you." He said, "You're a little. We'll take care of you," as I mentioned. So anyway, I went 2 weeks later, and Lou Klein, actually only quote unquote Klein jabronis, as we were referred to by people on the outside in wrestling. Got a lot of training from Lou himself, but the guys he had trained, which were good guys. Jim Lancaster was there. Just talked to him last night. Big Jim Lancaster. He started training like before me, and he broke in August, and then I broke in September in 1972. Actually, I had my first match in Shaker Heights, Ohio, for the NWF, National Wrestling Federation. Johnny was the promoter and all that. And this is pretty interesting right here, what I'm about to tell you. I worked 2 tapes that day. They had 4 in Ohio. And first match, I worked with Dominic DiNucci against the Fargo brothers, which comprised of Greg Valentine and Johnny Fargo, okay? Or Donnie Fargo. Greg was actually Johnny Fargo. So anyway, Greg Valentine, who's not known for his lightness in the ring, actually left a handprint on me. And Donnie was great. Donnie was great. When I was in the ring, I worked with Donnie, in between. Donnie was super and very light. And then Greg Valentine beat the snot out of me, left a handprint on my chest for the last about 3 days. And then also, too, so that was the first tape, Greg and Donnie Valentine against me and Dom DiNucci. And then finally, the third tape, I worked with Johnny Valentine, Greg's dad. I worked with Johnny Valentine, and he beat the snot out of me too. So if I was ever going to quit wrestling at that time, it would have been that day. Working with Greg Valentine one match, and Johnny the next, and they literally beat the snot out of me. But I stayed with it, and I figured that was probably, if I could make it through that day, I could make it through any day. Now I've been stretched after that. by some guys, but nothing like Greg and Johnny. So anyway, that was my first pro match. Was at that time. It was I think it was September 7th, I believe, 1972. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're okay. I love it when I love hearing about that stuff. That's actually, that's the interesting part is like, when did you start? What was your first match? That's good. But also, before we move too far forward, I do want to step back and talk about your training just a little bit more. Obviously, back in the day, Kayfabe was taught to wrestlers, and they were taught to the talent. There were certain things that they said, hey, if you don't keep up Kayfabe, this is going to happen, or this is going to happen. So, obviously, it's different now. But back then, when they taught you Kayfabe, did they teach you as a work, or did they instill a fear in you of breaking this trade secret?
No, it was kind of strange. It was almost like they automatically. I always felt like they automatically trusted me. I've seen them, kick people out. They weren't any good training wise, but Kayfabe, they just told us they would, don't break it, don't tell anybody. But actually, they smartened me up the first day I walked in. A girl wrestler named Tanya West, who has since passed away. She was like the McGillicuddy or somebody like that. She was in the World Class Championship Wrestling later. Anyway, she helped train me a lot. I actually trained with the girls as far as training. I used to work out with the girls. A lady named Heather Feather. She was like 350 pounds. Real sweet lady. Anyway, I worked out with her. I actually helped train her. She came in about a month after I did. So I helped train Heather Feather. But Tanya West, she was already in the business. She worked out with me and a couple others there. So I learned a lot from the girl wrestlers.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the best and the brightest, right?
Yes,
So, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, absolutely. Whatever your thought was, go ahead with it.
So the girls training, I was on the smaller end of things. Back then, it was kind of funny. Back then, a big guy was like maybe 250, 260, maybe 300 pounds. When nowadays, nowadays with steroids and all that, a 250, 260-pound man is like small, and I never weighed more than 210 pounds in the business at 5'6", but I worked out. I was in pretty decent shape. Just interesting, size, I don't think I ever made it big. The funny part about it, though, even though I was always been told, oh, you're too small to make it, or you're not going to go very far. Well, actually, I've been in the business 45 years now, still going strong as far as repping and other stuff. Yeah. So, I've been wrestling longer than Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, So.
Hey, you know what they say? Never judge by your size. That's something I've always learned. Never judge somebody by their size.
Exactly. I was able to move quicker than a lot of guys, and I did a lot of flying stuff generally. I did a lot of drop kicks and flying head scissors kind of stuff early on. So that helped, being able to fly a little bit. I'll talk about kayfabe for a minute. I'll tell you an extreme kayfabe once. Ed Moondog Moretti and I were in Idaho, and we were starting a new territory. And we weren't even on TV yet. We just showed up, and it was in Boise, Idaho. This is 1980. Flash forward to 1980 for a minute. And we were in a restaurant. It was just me, him, and the cook. Okay? Well, we kayfabed it so much, even though we weren't on TV yet. We were going to be in a few days. He walked in. He sat on one end of the restaurant. I got up and sat in on the other end of the restaurant about 5 minutes later. And then there was just me, him, and the cook. And we didn't, we kayfabed it the whole time. We didn't even acknowledge we were there because we wanted to kayfabe it. So if people did see us together, then they watched the wrestling show. They said, oh, those two guys are, because he was a heel and I was a face. We didn't want people to think, oh, well, these guys are friends and we just saw them in the restaurant eating together. So anyway, my point being, it was kind of an extreme kayfabe thing,
I got you.
Yeah, where we didn't want anybody to know. So we adhered, all the wrestlers, if they're any worth their salt in the business, all wrestlers would kayfabe the best they could. They might ride together, but they would drop each other off. Whoever wasn't driving, about 2 or 3 blocks from the arena. If you wore a mask, you'd put the hood on, about a block or two before you got to the show. So kayfabe was very important, and it's really kind of disappointing to see that kayfabe, because of Vince McMahon, not willing to pay. This is the story I got. Vince McMahon made it wrestling entertainment, so sport entertainment, so they wouldn't have to pay all these commissioners, for sports commissioners and all that. So, but it's sad to see kayfabe gone, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But you know what amazes me too? I know I'm rambling. I don't mean to, but as far as kayfabe goes, even though everybody's quote unquote smart business, the wrestling is more popular than ever.
Oh,
It's pretty wild.
It is pretty crazy.
But let's see. As far as I can give you a quick rundown of where I worked if you want.
Yeah, I was actually about to ask you. Something also that I know fans love to hear is because obviously there were some notable places you worked for, the WWA and stuff like that. But
right.
Early in your career, what were some of the places that you worked before you kind of built up to these other entities? Sure,
I'll tell you where I got my break here in a moment too. It's leading up to that. Okay, so went to Detroit. Of course, I worked for the Sheik for 6 months. I actually worked with the Sheik. In fact, it was weird. One of my last matches there, I worked with the Sheik on Toledo TV. They were filming TV in Toledo, Ohio.
Okay.
And last match I ever worked for the Sheik was in Toledo, Ohio. I mean, for the Sheik. With the Sheik. And it's kind of funny because you hear him first thing you do when you lock up, you hear him say headlock, and you're thinking, man, I thought she couldn't speak English. I mean, we did, but it was kind of funny. Anyway, yeah, so I worked in Detroit first, trained there, worked there for a little while. Worked Cobo Hall a time or two, which was cool, 15,000 people, whatever. Anyway, worked Detroit first, and then I had a friend named Richard LaFramboise. That was his real name, Richard LaFramboise. He was a big guy. And he went down and worked for Bobby Shane. This is while I was still in Detroit. Anyway, got a call in Klein's gym from Bobby Shane. Bobby Shane called me and says, I got a hell of a gimmick for you. He says, how would you like to come down here and be my partner? So I went down there. I flew down there. So I went to Georgia Championship Wrestling. And sadly, I didn't have enough, thanks to Lou, quote unquote, thanks to Lou, I didn't have a lot of experience, So anyway, Bobby, I think he was going to team us up because I looked a lot like him at the time when I had hair. And anyway, Bobby made me his protege. They called me his protege. First time I flew in, he was working with Mr. Wrestling 2. So I went in there. I was kind of training, watching him wrestle, and then I ran in. They had me come in to interfere, and I got a big knee lift from Johnny Walker, Mr. Wrestling 2, and pretty stiff too. Yeah. So anyway, I worked for Georgia. First night I worked, kind of in the main event, which was cool. Well, kind of worked. Got a big knee lift. So anyway, I worked with in Georgia Championship Wrestling for a little while. The neat thing, Bobby knew I didn't have enough experience. He thought I did at first, because he thought they could work me in, but he ended up sending me to, for 2 weeks, he sent me to Crockett's territory, to the Carolinas. So I worked in the Carolinas for 2 weeks. Quick story there, I worked with the Alaskan. Yeah, there's two of them, but I worked with the bigger guy, Mike York, I think it was.
Yeah.
And a quick story about that. We were coming back from a show, and I was riding with the Alaskans, but their car lights weren't working. Okay, so they were following another worker. Okay, they're trying to get back to the main town. So they were following another worker whose lights, of course, did work. Well, anyway, this truck cut them off. There's a truck that almost ran into us because he couldn't see the lights. Okay, so. Anyway, we got around, so the truck cut us off, and we didn't get wrecked, but we almost did. Now, here's what happened. Jay York, or Mike York, the bigger one, had a gun in the glove compartment. He pulled out the gun and he was driving, too. He stuck his gun out. He was going to shoot, really think he was going to shoot the trucker, for cutting him off. And I think Mike York, the other one talked him out of it. The little guy, the smaller one.
Yeah.
And but he was actually, Mike York, the big guy, was actually going to shoot the trucker until Jay talked him out of it.
Good
It was
Lord. Yeah, that is pretty freaky.
He pulled up right along the truck because we're going down 70 miles down the road, 70 miles an hour down the road. Had the gun sticking out, everything, was going to shoot him. And I think Jay said, no, you don't want to do that. You know, it could cause all sorts of problems.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. Yeah. Anyway, worked there with the Alaskan. He was good. Worked with several other people there. So anyway, I spent 2 weeks in the Carolinas. Then I went back to work for Bobby for a few minutes, which was pretty cool. The last day I worked in North Carolina, I got a call from Bobby. I was getting ready to take a bus back, which I hated riding the buses. So anyway, Bobby says, get on the first plane you can, fly down to Atlanta, because I have a booking for you. So anyway, I flew down there. It was like being big time. It was like being a big shot, you know, get to fly around. So anyway, hopped on a plane, went down to Atlanta, and I was working with Sputnik Monroe, who I'm worked with several times, Sputnik Monroe on TV there as soon as I got in. It was pretty cool. It was like a big-time thing, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So, also, too, okay, then after that, Bobby sent me after the Carolinas. I worked there for another week or two. Then he sent me up to Nick Goulas, okay? And I worked Nick's territory for a couple of weeks. Big, huge payoffs of $30, you know, as opposed to $75, $80 down south there. So anyway, after working for Nick Goulas a couple of weeks, I went back down to Georgia one more time, worked a few more weeks, and then one last time, Bobby sent me down to work Gulf Coast wrestling with Cowboy Bob Kelly.
Yeah.
And that group down there, I worked there 2 weeks, and I worked with Sam Oliver Bass, who at the time was with the Bass Brothers, and he was a nice guy. Worked with the Bass Brothers down there, and we had a few other people. So then after that, Bobby says, I got a friend named Dean Silverstone. Dean Silverstone is starting a promotion in Seattle, Washington. This is about 1974 now. So I flew up to work for Dean Silverstone and worked there off and on for a couple of years, and just saw Dean the other day at the Cauliflower Alley Club in Vegas. So pretty cool. I worked with the Hells Angels there, Ronnie and Chris Dupree, Chris Colt.
Yeah.
And they threw fire in my face. It was pretty cool. We did a TV show where I was leaving anyway for a little while, for a couple of weeks, and Ronnie threw fire in my face as Chris was holding me on TV. And then later on that night, Dean Silverstone, Superstar Wrestling, they sold out the Yakima Armory, and I believe that's ever since then, nobody ever has sold out the Yakima Armory before. I know it's probably not a big deal to most people, but for there, it's a big deal, you know.
Yeah.
And also, too, while I was getting back to Detroit for a minute, I actually, what would happen is Klein's Gym, when I was there, people would call, like the NWF, and say, we need about 4 job guys, they'd call it, Lou Klein. So I did actually work. This is how far back I go, you know. Now it's World Wrestling Entertainment, but back then it was the WWF. And I worked with people like the likes of Lonnie Main, Moondog Main, worked with Gorilla Monsoon, and a few other people. Probably the best match I ever had was Toronto TV. Went to Toronto through Lou Klein. You know, Klein booked us in Toronto TV, and I worked with Sweet Daddy Siki. And Sweet Daddy Siki, I'll tell you, that guy made me look like $1 million. And at that time, I'd only had maybe 10 matches. And this is neat. I actually had people coming out of the dressing room congratulating me, even though it wasn't me that made me look good. It was Sweet Daddy Siki. But they liked the match so much that they came out and they were like, slap me on the back and all that. The guys from the dressing room.
Oh, wow.
You know? Yeah, Sweet Daddy Siki. Great guy. I guess he's still around. Got a bar or something. Then I went to work for Dean. Then I got married, which was a big mistake. I joined the Army. I came out. I got out of boot camp, and I actually worked a couple times for Dean Silverstone after that, but then he went out of business. And then I ended up going back to Dick the Bruiser. I actually worked for Dick the Bruiser on and off a lot, and worked for Dick the Bruiser in Indiana. This is back now in about 1980, 81. So I worked for Dick the Bruiser, the WWA, they called it.
Oh, yeah.
Dick always I actually promoted many a show. I've promoted shows. Of course, I've refereed. I've set up the ring, torn it down. I've done pretty much everything you can in wrestling. Let's see, getting back to something more without meandering. Okay, so Dick the Bruiser, worked a lot for Bruiser.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Worked for, King Kong Brody. Let me talk about this real quick. Worked with Frank Goodish. I know his wife from met her a few times just saw her last week at Cauliflower Club. Anyway, worked with King Kong Brody, Bruiser Brody. First time I worked with him, I kept trying to come back. When you're in training, they always say never die unless you're going to job, until you're going to get beat. So I kept coming back on Brody. This is on Indianapolis TV. Brody beat the holy crud out of me. Okay, I mean, he beat the snot out of me, literally. Anyway, so did the job, blah, blah, blah. And then about a month or two later, I worked with Brody again on TV, same WWA. And Brody, what I did this time, though, I didn't try to come back on him. Okay, I just did whatever he wanted to do, sold everything. I didn't try to come back. And he used that big knee. And you don't even feel that big knee for his finish.
Yeah.
It comes flying along at you. And then let me flash forward to, I used to work wrestling at the Chase a lot. Dick the Bruiser would send me and a few other guys, kind of like the old territory days. If somebody asked for 4 job guys, come up and do jobs for him, Bruiser would send job guys too. Okay. And got there. I took a friend of mine who I'd trained for wrestling, a guy named Bulldog Dave. His ring name was Bulldog Dave Daniels. But anyway, nice guy. Excuse me. So anyway, this is several months after we worked with Brody. Anyway, went to wrestling at the Chase with St. Louis TV, and my friend was put in with Brody. And, excuse me, sorry. Anyway, my friend, match was doing okay, and Brody gave me, and my friend kicked out finish on TV people. Anyway, he kicks out of Brody's big knee, and then Brody put it out of him. Again, literally, he's bleeding and hurt him so bad he had to, he didn't have to go to the hospital, but he let my friend know that you don't kick out of my shoes. I don't even know if they ever got match because of what happened. But here's the thing. I told my friend, I've trained a few guys. I trained Mad Max, a guy named John Richmond, great guy. I trained a few other. I helped train Al Snow. The main guy that Al was trained by was Lancaster. But I always have to say I helped train Al Snow because I got in the ring with him early on, and we worked some stuff, did stuff together in the ring, train-wise. So I like to say, I helped train Al Snow, and I did to a point. But anyway, what was I saying? Bruiser, yeah, I forgot where I was going with that. Okay, next question.
No, you're all right. You're all good. No, like I said, I love hearing all that stuff. That's what we want to hear. So, you did work for, you obviously worked for the WWA. That was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And the WWA who's who of wrestling legends.
Yeah.
So we were just going to ask, what are some of the more notable guys that you worked with there?
Okay. I worked with Terry. A lot of these guys are ref, but I call reffing is still working with these guys. Okay. Yeah. Well, first of all, I ref Terry Funk's match. As far as I'm trying to think of the world, notable people. Terry Funk, I reffed a match with him in it. I actually wrestled Gene Kiniski. Gene Kiniski's finish was kind of cute. I have a friend, my friend Ed Moretti. Here's the finish. Here's how the finish of Gene Kiniski's matches, all of them went. And he made a little poem about it. Into the ropes chop, in the ropes knee, into the ropes backbreaker, 1, 2, 3. And that was always what Kiniski would do for maybe top, give you knee, and then give you backbreaker. So I thought that was kind of cute. Anyway, Gene Kiniski, I worked with him, TV, worked with Kerry Von Erich. Let's see. Dick the Bruiser, of course. I was in several matches with him. Oh, I did referee a NWA match. I refed a match between Dick the Bruiser and Harley Race for the NWA title, and the finish was Bruiser threw me over the top rope. But it was kind of cool to have an NWA title, Did that in 1995.
Yeah.
Bruiser. Oh, I worked with George Cannon, too. George Cannon was pretty cool. I went on a 5-week tour with him. And Louis Martinez was there. He was a cool guy. Louis could do all sorts of imitations of people. Great. So I worked with Louis there, Louis Martinez. George Cannon always liked me. We would do this thing. He was like a devout atheist. He was, I guess, a devout Christian, you might say. But we used to argue about religion a lot. So one time it got to be kind of a private joke where I'd get in the ring to announce or ref or whatever, and george Cannon was saying, now we have Greg Christian Lake. He had a Christian Lake. But it's cool because we never fought him. Just, George was a really intelligent man, And anyway, George used me for his Newfoundland tour back in 1980 also, which was pretty cool. And other famous people, I probably forgot half of them. But I'll think of them probably after the show. But
no, that's perfectly okay.
Mitsu Arakawa, I worked with Mitsu Arakawa. He was a WWA. He was champion. In fact, here's the neat thing. I used to when I was growing up. I liked Von Rag, Mitsu Arakawa. Anyway, Mitsu jobbed for me in Mile, Michigan. It was a match between, it was myself, it was Mighty Igor and myself against Mitsu Arakawa and the Zebra Kid. Anyway, together, trainer or whatever they call it. So when Mitsu went down, Igor and the Zebra Kid. But it was neat that here I only been in the business a few months, and my hero, the former WWA champion Mitsu Arakawa, jobbed for me.
Oh, wow.
That was pretty cool. And my dad's got that on Super 8 somewhere, but I don't know when. It's somewhere around, floating around. Oh, let's see. And that's really been about it. Worked in Canada, WWA a lot, for Indianapolis. A lot of stuff on YouTube. Pro wrestler Greg Lake, a little shameless plugs here.
That's all right.
Shameless self-promotion. You can look Pro wrestler Greg Lake, and I'm on warning, do not watch the last 3 seconds of the match. Job. So turn it off at 3 seconds ago. You don't see it. Yeah, anyway, and then I also wrestled as the Patriot. I don't know if I was the second one, but I was actually the Patriot well before Mr. Del Wilkes, who to me was the best Patriot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was the Patriot probably late 70s. Jim Lancaster gave me that gimmick. And I wasn't the first, but I wasn't the best. I wasn't the first, but I was the Patriot for a while.
Yeah, so how did that come about? How did the Patriot name come about?
Well, Jim Lancaster, I worked for Jim a lot, Midwest Championship Wrestling. He had a promotion there, which did pretty well, and I'd seen this also. In Wrestling Review, Jerry the King Lawler used to draw. He had this little thing called the Patriot, like a little cartoon strip. It was in Wrestling Review. Anyone liked that gimmick. Jim Lancaster, Jim Painter is his real name. Anyway, Jim says, I want you to be the Patriot at my shows. And got me a hood, and I ordered some trunks and boots. And I was the Patriot. I was the Midwest Wrestling Champion. I was the Patriot for a few months. That was pretty cool. Probably the best looking Patriot anyway. But he was not the first. I think I was second or third or something like that. So,
right on.
But this well before Del Wilkes.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I know that cause I think I've seen the Patriot, that whole thing. I've seen it a bunch of times, but I do remember, specifically speaking, that I remember seeing you being the Patriot, and I remember actually in my notes, I even have written down here, not the same Patriot from the
right.
WWE,
right.
Is it?
Right. Whatever it is nowadays.
Yeah, right. I was WWF, WWE, whatever, same thing.
Exactly. Oh, shoot. I forgot what I was going to say. When you're my age, you forget half the things you want to say. But a couple more unshameless plugs, whatever.
Hey, it's
shameless
okay.
I'm on a match as the Patriot. It's called, if you look up Wojo, Greg Wojciechowski. He was actually a shooter. I actually seen Greg work. He used to be managed by Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., Jerry Jaffe. Nice guy. Jaffe's a pretty cool guy. Anyway, good friend. Anyway, Wojciechowski, they call him the Great Wojo. Him and Graham used to call people out of the crowd, and they would challenge people. They would challenge marks or fans in the crowd. And I've seen Wojo work 2 or 3 times with these guys. Of course, they had to sign a waiver and all that. But Wojo did, always beat these guys out of the crowd. He had trouble with one, though. But he beat him. He did end up beating him. So anyway, I worked with Wojo as a big shooter. Great. Turned out to be a decent worker. I'm on there. Wojo versus the Patriot. If you look up Wojo, that's just Wojo versus the Patriot. And then also I'm in the only other one besides Pro Wrestler Greg Lake. I'm the Patriot, and these are filmed out of Canada, most of them. Frankie Lane. If you look up Frankie Lane tags with Patriot, I'm on there also. That was a good match. Frankie Lane was a good worker.
Right on. Yeah, I actually just found that the Great Wojo versus the Patriot on YouTube. Just found that. So
yeah. It's I throw the dropkicks in there, but
so
but I
everybody
put
who's
them
looking
over.
for well, is there anybody who's listening looking for a good match to watch? Go ahead and watch that, because I think I've actually seen that before.
Yeah, Wojo versus
Don't quote me.
Yeah, Greg. Pro Wrestler Greg Lake. Come on, that's out of Vancouver, Canada. Pro Wrestler Greg Lake. It's the first match. That pops up, and then Frankie Lane tags with Patriot, or whatever. Frankie Lane and Patriot tag or whatever. Not bragging. I just like people to. I like to see all the hits come on there. For each person that looks on it, there's a hit. I get credited for, I guess. But I had fun. I love wrestling. I'm still doing it for 4 or 5 years. I guess I'm just too stupid to get out of it. But I love it. Still taking ref bump. I took a ref bump not too long ago. 350-pound guy. The heel pulled me in the corner that I was refereeing a match. The heel pulled me in the corner where he was, and this big guy, 350-pound guy, hits me. And I took a big ref bump. I love doing that still.
Oh, wow.
So, that's what I mean. I don't know if I'm just crazy or stupid, just too stupid to get out. I don't know. But I love it. I love it.
Hey.
I love everything about it. And still a mark. I still watch. I like AJ Styles. He's probably one of the best. AJ Styles, Nakamura. I find up those guys. A lot of my older wrestling buddies think I'm a big mark, which I am. I sit there with bated breath for it to come on, but I'll watch it. When it's on.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I
I was actually going to ask you. This is kind of long. This is actually along the same topic, but I know a lot of people. We've actually interviewed. We've talked to Jerry Graham Jr. before. We even talked to like Rip Rogers. We've actually had him on the show and stuff. And we always ask him, "What are your opinions on the modern style of wrestling?" And since you're talking about it, why don't you go ahead and throw your opinions out there for everybody to hear?
Okay, a lot of the problems is the newer guys. First of all, there's not a lot of selling. It seems like nobody sells that much. It's just one big spot a lot of times, and which is okay at times, but there's not a lot of selling, not a lot of psychology. It seems like just bang, bang, bang. Everybody's trying to get their stuff over instead of trying to get the other guy over. That's what it seems like. I always think, there's got to be psychology in it. They got to tell a story. There, a very wise man who used to referee and wrestle, by the name of Roy McClarity. The best advice he could give anybody, he's long since passed on. Nice guy, great guy. But he used to say, reffing, make it look like a contest. Make it look like a contest. In other words, make it look like you're trying to beat the guy. I mean, work in wrestling. But sell, and when if the guy's down, cover the guy, stay on the guy. That's the advice I would give nowadays if I could give advice to new wrestlers, new workers. Is on the guy, make it look like a contest. Beat the guy. You're supposed to be trying to beat the guy, not if the guy's down selling and he's on his back, cover the guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, storytelling. There's a lack of storytelling anymore. Nobody hardly sells. Everybody's trying to get their own stuff over. Instead of trying to help each other get stuff over. You got to get the other guy over, because if you beat and plus on interviews when people say, he's nothing. Well, the problem comes in, if you wrestle the guy and you beat him, quote unquote beat him, go over him, he beat nothing,
Yeah.
So anyway, psychology lacks nowadays. Not enough selling. Everybody's big hot. You're not really saying anything, but we can fly around.
Exactly.
I mean, there's times to do all that stuff, but then there's some time you got to settle down and work some holds, sell a little bit more. I love selling. That's why I was a great baby face. I love selling, or even a heel. I just love to sell. People get me an arm, I like to sell it. So.
Absolutely.
And let me think. Go ahead.
No, actually, I was just going to expand on that, though. I was like, a lot of people say that, there was a lack of selling in modern wrestling compared to how, traditional wrestling back then was, because selling was something that was, incorporated into, like, the training, I believe. So nowadays, It's like kind of a lost art, just like Kayfabe, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you got it. It's like, come on, guys, sell, make it. You want to have, if you're a baby face, you want to get that sympathy. Bobby Shane was one of the best. I learned from the best there. Even though Simon didn't spend much time in the ring with me, well, Bobby Shane did. Bobby Shane, he said he used to make people cry because he'd sell. So, he'd look at a woman, for example, he'd look at like a group of women or something in the ringside when he was selling. He was like, oh, help me, please help me. He's killing me, help me. I mean, he would actually have people in tears sometimes, he said.
That's
Shane was the master.
Selling.
Yeah, exactly. And anyway, that's my thoughts on it. More selling and make it look like a contest. If pin the guy. If the guy's down, pin him. Don't go strutting around. And the guy looks like he could be pinned. Pin the guy or false finish or something. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
But
crazy. Sure.
No, I was gonna say, before we kind of wrap this up, I do want to talk a little bit about like your career overall.
Yeah.
So as you said, you retired. You mentioned this earlier, but you retired at a fairly older age compared to how most people retire nowadays, I believe. And and even then, you're not even really retired because you're still in there. You're still doing that stuff. You're still refereeing and stuff. But something that I've noticed is that even though you are a mainstay in Midwest wrestling for many years, you are a pretty underrated performer. People oftentimes, I'm always curious as to why people overlooked you so much. So I didn't know if you had any thoughts about that.
Yeah, actually, admit it. It's a joke. No, actually, but along those lines, in all seriousness, and ready, and Jim's right behind that, and Kevin Jeffries, referee, he was in the WWE and all that. Anyway, Kevin Jeffries, good friend of mine, known him since 1979. They were both telling me at different times over when I saw him at the conference, at the Cauliflower Alley conference, and they both told me, you don't get out there and speak enough. You don't build yourself up enough, And I just never thought I wanted to. And at my age now, I really don't care. But that was part of it. The big part of it, I didn't try to sell myself. I didn't put myself over enough verbally. I didn't talk so much about myself. I always kind of, I don't know, didn't really keep to myself, but I never bragged about myself or put myself over. It was pretty cool, though. I got to tell you this real quick. It goes along the lines of a couple different TV shows I worked. I was supposed to job, and that's fine. I didn't care. But anyway, two different announcers both said, man, that one guy's strong, but that Greg Lake, he keeps coming back, okay? Now, my point being, I would, in the ring, I guess I did more of my talking in the ring, Yeah. And I had, like, announced, I really genuinely believed that these announcers, they thought I was just going to go into a job, but I kept coming back. And the wrestling actually spoke for me, I guess. But I never really verbally, tried to sell myself to promoters and stuff. Never made it big. Part of it was my size also. Most guys like, really big guys, and muscular guys. But some of the biggest muscular, good-looking guys in the business can't work for nothing,
Yeah. I
Rick
definitely agree with
Rude.
that.
People like Rick Rude are the exception, though. Rick Rude, fantastic worker, fantastic body, you know. So it was mainly not verbally plugging myself enough, and I've always been Mr. Modest, you know, kind of thing. And I never built myself up very much, you know, verbally to promoters. But I did okay. You know, 45 years in the business, I'm still, you know, so I must be doing something right. Never made it big, but you know what? I don't care. I look at it this way. I've just been blessed. I feel like I've been blessed to live my childhood dream. You know, from 9 years old, like I said, I started to say when I was 6 or 7, I didn't like it, but then when I hit 9 years old, boom, it was my dream to become a wrestler and childhood dream, and I made it, and I'm still in it to this day. Still, you know, God's been good to me, so been watching over me, taking care of me, so. And I've been blessed to do my childhood dream up to the States. I'm 40 years old, still doing it.
Absolutely.
So I can't really complain. And if there's anybody out there, anybody listening that has a childhood dream or a dream to become a wrestler, go for it. Go for your dream, you know.
Absolutely.
That's what people, like, if I were to talk to them about that, you know.
Yeah.
It's great. Oh, yeah, one other thing, a tip for the younger people that are trying to get in or just got in wrestling, your work ethic. I would just say this. The work ethic is very important. A couple things real quick, and then we can wrap it up if you want.
Okay.
Jason Ayers, my friend Jason Ayers, is a referee now in the WWE, right? But this guy worked anywhere and everywhere, and he took videos of himself, you know, refereeing and stuff. But this guy would go all over the country, literally, you know, freelancing, refereeing at different shows. And his work ethic, he's married, got 2 kids. His work ethic got him into the WWE, and the guy, great. Jason Ayers, great guy.
Oh, yeah.
But his work ethic, he tried, he worked hard, he did everything he could, went everywhere he could. Also, Heidi Lovelace. These guys are from Lafayette, Indiana, where I'm from. Heidi Lovelace, who is now Ruby Riott in NXT.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing. She was her work ethic was amazing, still is, and she's now in NXT because she worked hard, she listened, she did what she was told, did everything to the best of her ability, wrestled wherever she could. Now she's in NXT doing a feud with I'm not sure who the other lady is. I'm not up on names, but Ruby Riott, also known as Heidi Lovelace, great person. You could tell she was going to go places. I refereed a couple of her matches several months ago, and you could tell she was going to go places. But work ethic, work hard. You know, just like any other job. If you want to get to the top, you wouldn't work and work. You know, that's what I tell people. Do everything and anything you can, you know, within reason. So.
Yep, I 100% in agreement with that.
And it's if you have a dream, work at it, do the best you can, get the connections, and talk to people in the business. Get photos made, get videos made. No stopping. If a person's in decent shape, also stay in shape too, especially if you're a smaller person. That's what I tell people. Stay in shape, you know, work out, you know. So that's that's the advice I have for younger people. You know, just work hard and do the best you can, make contacts, you know.
Absolutely. So before we wrap this up, though, I do have a
Sure.
question for you. So I don't know, some people do have this, some people don't, but I don't know if you have any social medias that fans can follow you at and keep up with you.
I'm on Facebook. I don't do Twitter or anything. When it comes to technology, I'm technologically impaired, as Weird Al would say. But look me up on Facebook. Lots of wrestling pictures, and I'm also, just a side note, I'm an amateur ghost hunter, and I've caught many a weird thing. I can't say they're supernatural, but I've caught many myths and orbs out there. Anyway, there's pictures of that and me. Go to or you can get a hold of me at gregpaeth@hotmail.com. Gregpaeth@hotmail. That's my name, GREGPAETH at Hotmail. My name, all lowercase, one word. So, yeah, so they can feel free to get me there if you want, or I'm on Facebook. Greg Paeth is my real last name, Paeth.
Awesome.
And, yeah, I don't mind just hearing from people. I go on also, too, if people are interested in older matches and things, Kayfabe Memories. I do Kayfabe Memories quite a bit. And that's a lot. That's a good WrestleView. I'm not in WrestleView, but WrestleView.com I go to about every day for wrestling. But yeah, Greg Paith at hotmail.com or Facebook, Greg Paith on Facebook. I love to talk to people, you know.
Definitely. So everybody, go on there, find him on Facebook, send him an email, just talk to him and stuff. I mean, just chat him up. He's got a lot of good stories, and I'm sure there's even some he didn't tell me.
Oh, yeah, there's quite a few that they're not X-rated, but they're pretty close to it. Well, that's kind of gross. I don't mean it like that. Anyway, I'll be glad to fill you in on stuff. It's nothing bad. I never really did anything too bizarre. Chris Colt did. I love Chris Colt, but that's another story. I used to drive him crazy because we were like opposites. I'm like really neurotic, and he was like totally. I used to drive him nuts, you know, because he was so out there. But great guy, fantastic worker. One of the best people I've ever worked with, Chris Colt. Sadly, passed away 2 years ago. Chris Colt, nice guy.
Wow.
Great, crazy guy. Just crazy. I can fill you in on crazy stuff like that. Fantastic worker. So, anyway, anything else that you need to know offhand or wanted to hear?
No, I got everything I wanted and more.
Okay. Now, real quickly, I'll tell you one of the stories I was talking about. I mean, I could put it on here. Real quickly, and I'll let you go. Ripper Collins, I used to room with Ripper Collins, right? I didn't know he was gay. He was married and had two kids, but they were, like, adopted. Well, here's my point. We're rooming together, and I didn't know he was gay at the time. We had two separate beds. We were, but we roomed together on the road. And one day he got up. We were waiting for the show to start. We were watching TV. He gets up and walks over and lays on top of me. And big guy, he had his clothes on. And he started giggling like a little girl. And I thought he was joking around. So anyway, I got out of the bed. I got up and went over to his bed, lay down, started watching TV. He got up again, went over and laid on top of me again. And I said, oh, okay. I said, oh, now I get it. I said, I'm sorry, but I'm not that way. He goes, oh, that's okay. Maybe we better not get to room together anymore.
Oh,
I could have said that, but I don't know. It was probably I didn't think about it at the time, but anyway, stuff like that. There's stuff like that, all different sorts of stories and things like that. But I loved it. I love every minute in wrestling. I can't. And I'm met some great people.
Come crack open a cold one and let Old Manser tell you a story.
King of Big Dog Style, Larry to Light Beer, the King of the Trailer Court, your favorite wrestler of mine, me.
This is Warner's Wisdom with Mance Warner.
All right, people, here we go. The red light's on. Old Manser in his truck, en route to go wash this sumbitch up. Gonna pay some couple bills too. Gotta keep the lights on out here. Gotta keep that light beer money coming in. Doing these shows every week, selling them t-shirts. You go to ProWrestlingTee.com and get one. Okay, Old Manser right here. Last week, hold on here. This is your favorite wrestler and mine, me, Old Manser, King of Big Dog Style, Larry to Light Beer. My throat's still killing me. Been out there eating dirty pussy. I know. Okay, hold on here. Jesus Christ, it's hot out here. Hot. It's hot out here, people. I gotta turn the air on right here. Now, this kind of reminds me of a story. Old Manser, back in the day, we're cutting some trees. You know, you gotta work to work. You know what I mean? So, Old Manser out there got me a job cutting trees, right? My boss at the time, his name Jimmy. Jimmy's a wild man. Jimmy crazy as hell. Love him. I miss you, Jimmy. Jimbo, you out there, baby? Now, this is what happened. One day we driving back we out there in the middle of nowhere cutting these trees. We driving back in town. We got two guys sitting behind us in the truck, and the two guys keep giving Jimmy shit, right? One of them more than the other one. Another one's just having a good time. One guy was just pushing it too far. So old Jimbo, I kid you not, if I'm lying, I'm dying. If I'm lying, I'm dying. That's a dramatic pause right there. Manser's still alive, people. So we driving, right? Good Lord, I turned the AC on, didn't even turn it on me. I'm cooling out the damn windshield, I guess. Jesus, waste of money right there. So, oh my Lord, it's hot. It's like hell. It's like I've died and I went to hell already. So, okay, Old Manser out there. Driving in the car with Jimbo. Guy giving Jimbo a hard time. Jimbo just said, fuck it, man. He pulled over, jump out of the truck. He jump out. What he got in his hand? He got a handsaw in his hand. Now, handsaw is a little saw you can use for your hand. Hence the name handsaw. So, Jimbo take this saw. He jump out of the car, jump out of the truck, sorry, and he's screaming and yelling. Jimbo is screaming, you want to get funky? You want to get funky? You won't get funky? He's screaming, you won't get funky? Over and over and over. And he go, come on, come on, come on. One of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. The guy in the truck with us, he only been working with us probably 2 weeks. He's shitting the brick at this point. He don't know what to do. Jimbo's swinging his handsaw around. He's screaming, you won't get funky? You won't get funky? Beautiful. One of the craziest damn things I've ever seen in my life. That guy didn't come to work the next day. I never saw that guy again. Shout out to Jimbo. Love you, big man. Okay. Old Master, last week, my throat's killing me. I gotta get here, get me a little something to sip on before I wash this car. It's a nice day out here, people. It's Mother's Day right now. Shout out to all the mothers out there. Shout out to all the mamas raising the babies out there, keeping them safe. I'm cutting this guy off. Fuck him. Okay. Shout out to all the mamas out there raising their babies, keeping them safe. It's what we need out there, people. Good people. There's good people out there, man. It's what people got to remember. At the end of the day, there's good people out there. Just don't watch the news. The news tell you it's just about all the bad stuff. Just go out and go on a walk once in a while. Take a couple light beers with you. Don't get caught by the police. The cherries and berries hit you. But just go out there. There's good people out there. So shout out to all the mamas out there. Back to my story. I'm going off on a tangent. Last week, Old Master is out here. And I was telling y'all about, man, I've been pissed if I didn't hit the red button on here. Jesus Christ, I was about to lose my cool. So, anywho, what was I talking about? Oh, okay. I was talking about promos, working on promos, doing them promos, practicing in promos, practicing in facial expressions, practicing making that point, getting to the point like Old Master does. Not always, that's a joke right there. Old Master goes on tangents and forget what I'm talking about half the damn time. Okay. So, we go know promos a little bit. Going over the promos, talking about how to do them promos. And then I touched on just a little bit on tape studying. Study a tape, man. You want to be a pro wrestler, this is like being a doctor, baby. You got to get all the books. You got to go to school for about 15 years before you know what the hell's going on. So, I was talking a little bit about tape studying the tape last week. Old Master damn near invented tape trading on the intranet. Now, back in the day, you had to have a phone number. A number of somebody you knew that could make you W up some tapes, or you had to be recording stuff on your VCR all the time. Now, Old Master had the phone numbers. I called people that make me, some dummy up some tapes, send it over to Old Master. I watch them, I study them. I still do it to this day. Now, I'm going to go into a little old guy venting at this moment. Nowadays, what do you people got? What you got? Dramatic pause. You got the intranet. You got the YouTuber. You got the Twitter. You got the Instagram. You got about 1 million different ways to watch pro wrestling tape footage. You can watch anything. Anything you want. You got the network. You got WWE Network. You got the CZW Studios. You got the high spots. You got everything out there, man. But what we see far more often than we need to see is people watching something on Monday night and then trying it on Saturday. That ain't what it's all about, people. I'm sweating up here like a whore in church. What I'm saying is, do not watch Monday night or Tuesday night, or is it Thursday night? I don't know no more. Don't sit there and watch it. and then turn around. I gotta find somewhere to park here. Don't sit there and watch it on Monday and then go to a show on Saturday and try to do the same thing, man. You ain't Randy Orton. Randy Orton does what he does. Don't sit out there and do the same bullshit over and over and over, because we done seen it. What you need to be doing is going out there, studying all your tape, studying all your footage, and figuring out what you gonna do, man. Learn from the greats. Learn what worked and what didn't work. Chances are, if it worked in 1984, it gonna work today. My advice is, you want to make it pro wrestling, you got to be pro wrestling 24/7. That means you ain't going to go on dates with your girlfriend every weekend. That means you ain't going to be home every weekend. There's times old Master will see on the Facebook people that having a good time, right? And it cuts to the core, old Master. I get so pissed off. Because old Master don't have no good time. My good time is when I'm wrestling, baby. And then I'll get in my truck and I drive. So I see people saying, oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm having fun doing this. Oh, look at me doing this. I feel like it slapped me right in the face. But in the same sense, old Master, just like if you want to be making it out here, you need to be wrestling all the time. Now, I understand you're going to have to work to work. You're going to have to work to get a little green, to work. You basically going to have a job, baby, to get out there and do the working. And that's just the way it goes. But if you got free time and you wasting it bullshitting, farting around town, you wasted your time. You wasted my time. You wasted a lot of people's time. So, old Master advice is, you got the YouTube. You got 3 hours to kill. Get it on there. Watch the Rock and Roll Express. Watch Bobby Eaton. Watch Ric Flair. Watch Arn Anderson. Watch Harley Race. Watch Brian Pillman. Watch all the promos you can watch. And become what you say you love. But what do I know, right? I just like drinking light beer and having a good time. My point to it is, don't just spend 10 minutes watching wrestling on the YouTuber and then try to mimic what you done seen. You need to be getting on to YouTube, watching WCW Saturday Night from 1988, and watch it. They got them in order out there. Watch them in 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94. They got them up to, I believe, 99, maybe early 2000. 99 to the 2000. Cash Money record taking over, baby. Now, my point to all this is you got to take advantage of all the tools you got. Batman had a lot of tools on him, right? He didn't really have no superpowers. He just had a whole bunch of tools. But he knew how to use them tools. He knew what order them tools went in. So take that free time. I'm going to put this down for a second. Hopefully you hear me. I'll pick it up in a second too. Take that free time. Study them tapes. Learn what you are, what you want to be, and get out there and do it. There's no excuse for not watching the tapes, for watching the YouTube, watching the Instagram, the Twitter. This is a whole different generation here, people. You ain't got to call up a number or put on wrestling tapes for sale on the internet, and it takes you to a website that look like in 1989, and it's just a yellow screen, and everything's in blue, and you click all little buttons, and it tells you, oh, we got ECW tapes for sale. Oh, we got WWF, WCW, NWA tapes for sale. And then you got to say, hey, a couple more bucks, can you cut out all the commercials? I don't want to see all the commercials. I don't need to see that The Breakfast Club is coming on Saturday night. I don't need to see it at dinner and the movie going to be on Friday night. But leave in the Joe Bob Riggs on TNT. Leave the Joe Bob Riggs commercials in there. Those are good. Monster Vision rule, baby. Monster Vision rules. Now, I'm messing with y'all here. I got to get some gas. I'm going to go in here and get one of these Ripper energy drinks because I'm a cheapskate and it costs 99 cents for one of them. They get me all hyped up. My heart probably going to explode. Old Master already living on cloud 9 as it is. Now I'm going to get some gas. I'm going to go wash my truck up. Looking kind of dirty for being on the road. And I'm going to get me some light beers. I'm going to drink them. I'm going to mow a little bit of the yard. Cook out some burgers. That's what Old Master going to do today. Now, just if you take anything out of what Old Master's saying today, get on YouTube and just watch wrestling in your free time, man. Don't come up asking for advice, and then when we give you advice, you don't take it, and then you just watch 10 minutes of Monday night, and then you try to act like you're Dolph Ziggler now. Or you're going to be John Cena. Or you're Randy Orton. Just figure it out. People got there. Take some of this wisdom from Old Master. This is Warner's wisdom, baby. I'm out here spitting the facts, dropping the knowledge. Now until next time, this has been Old Master, the Southern Psycho, the king of the trailer court, the king of big dog style, the master of the pop-up headbutt. Oh, Mr. What I can do. I don't want to scream too loud, scared this old lady over here. She get gas right now. You know all the nicknames, people. This has been this on the Dave Dynasty Show, the best part of the Dave Dynasty Show. Wink, wink, Dave. You know Old Master loves you. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, Lord, I sneezed and felt like a demon was trying to jump out of my body. Okay, anywho. Until next time, but another edition of Warriors Wisdom. I don't know what we're going to talk about next time. We'll talk about something real cool, though. I had to go on a little vent in here for a second about the old tape trading, tape studying. Now, until next time, y'all have a good time. It's Mother's Day. Get out there, have a good time. Be safe, you dummies. Old Messer. See you next week.
Visit our friends at the Masked Republic. Go to luchaloot.com and luchashop.com and use the promo code DYNASTY for exclusive discounts.
And this is Dave Dynasty, back on the Dave Dynasty Show. Thank you for sticking around, listening to that phenomenal interview with Greg Lake, listening to a little bit of wisdom from Mance Warner. Again, I thank you all for your well wishes as I recover. I thank you for joining us and listening in, sharing this podcast, sharing this episode. Get the word out. Let's support Indiana wrestling, support Midwest wrestling, support wrestling in whatever area you are in. Get out there to the independent shows on the weekends. Support those guys. Buy some shirts. Cheer them on. As Trip Cassidy says, let's be independent. I thank you for joining us. We have a great interview next week with we're going kind of the other end. We're going with an up-and-coming star from Indiana. Next week we will have Mercy Percy Davis on. That it's a great interview as well. Once again, thank you for joining us. Please share. If you need to contact us, you can see all of our social media links, all of our links to our sponsors, our Pro Wrestling Tee Store, everything at davedynasty.com. And you can always contact me any of those means or send me an email at dave@davedynasty.com. Once again, thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. Be good, be safe, be independent, and keep on growing. Thank you.